This is Hot Mike.
Hot Mike.
On the networks of WDAY.
WDAY.
Here's Dom Izzo. An author.
Offensive production, number 1. Number 2, I forgot.
Golfer.
It'd be like going on a 3-person best shot, and we were saying, Kolpack, you got to make a 25-footer every time. You wouldn't putt first. I'd have Tim putt first.
And one heck of a TV personality.
This game is for the Cooper Cup.
It's the Forum's Jeff Kolpack.
4. I should have yelled 2.
Here it is, folks. It's Monday morning. Jeff Kolpack joins us in studio.
Isn't it about time we update the opening? I mean,
Why?
climbing
Everyone
us
loves
like
that.
3 head coaches ago.
Everybody loves it. Plus, him taking a shot at you is pretty good.
That's
Until,
good, yeah.
Hey, until Polisek gives us some really good stuff, that's staying.
That it won't be long. Pretty sure it won't be
you
long.
brought a special guest to the studio.
Yeah, my friend Paul.
Yeah, and he brought by this, which is fantastic. He made this?
He knows somebody who makes
Made it.
them.
This
Yep.
is fantastic.
Yep.
After I was blasting the Twins earlier, there we go. We
Yeah.
can have this. We'll add this to the collection.
We will turn you into a Twins fan yet.
Well, it's like by association. My wife loves them. My father-in-law certainly does. Jack Mann's kind of on the fence. He's more of a Cubs guy. They don't have They don't have any fandom today. Did you hear the story yesterday? What happened? That Randy Dobnak comes in to give their bullpen a breather. Right? He goes 5 innings.
Haven't paid any attention to baseball.
Okay, so he throws 5 innings yesterday because the Twins are getting blown out. They gave up 8 runs in the first 3 innings. He gets fired after the game. They cut him.
They cut him.
I mean, I know it's professional sports, but how about a little heart, man, that he gave him 5 innings yesterday?
The one guy I pay attention to is our family friend Eric Swanson, back with the Blue Jays.
Yes.
Married a Roseau gal. They live in Roseau. And made the obviously he's one of their premier pitching
He's
parts.
all right.
He's their setup guy.
Yep. All right, so it's March 31st. The baseball season is going, and yet we're still covering basketball. North Dakota State's playing tonight.
The latest, that was a good little nerd stat you
I
put out.
appreciate
The
that.
latest NDSU has ever played a basketball game.
Now they've played late. Like you're used to it. You covered it when the Bison women were playing March 24th, March 25th, packing the BSA. So they're used to late runs, but this one is as late as it's ever gone, and they got another one here tonight.
Now, will it go later?
We'll find out.
We'll go into April.
So what in your mind, outside of being at home, because we were both at the game in Sioux Falls against Kansas City, probably the low point of the season.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen the high point here over the last 2 games. What's different in your mind, if anything?
I think it's all between the ears, Dom. I really do. I think it's they were tight at the end of the year, and I think Jory alluded to that in the post-game press conference after the Washington State game. That sometimes when it gets toward the end, you get a little tight, and I talked to Abby Schulte on Friday, and she said we're always around each other. We're always around each other, and maybe we don't say it, but you can see it in each other's. She goes, the feelings are mutual.
Sense it. Yeah.
Yep. And so there it's like when 1 or 2 or 3 maybe get tight, then all of a sudden everybody gets tight. And maybe I don't know what else it could be, because since then, once this WNIT started, they have just reversed their the way they go about their business. They're sharper. They didn't have as many turnovers last game.
They had 6
Yeah.
after. I mean, they turned the ball over quite a bit against New Mexico State, and they do. They average, I think, 17 a game. They only had 6 for the game on Thursday night against
maybe
Washington
a little different
State.
tonight. I think Troy's going to probably put a little more up-tempo pressure on them.
Troy's going to be up in their grill. I want to get to them in a second. But you mentioned Schulte, and I think, to me, if you're going to just dumb it down to one thing, Schulte's play has been the biggest reason why. She's been great the last 2 games, and she was not for a large stretch. It was, I would say, 6 weeks where Abby was really, really struggling. She's been dynamite the last 2 games.
And good for her. She could have just powered
Absolutely
it down.
right. Yep.
She could have I'm done. I'm a senior. Not only that, I've been here. I'm the all-time leader in games played.
Yep.
And obviously, 5-year player with COVID. And that's a lot. And to re-engage yourself mentally, I think says a lot about her.
Yeah, that to me, because you're right, especially like, all right, we're going to do this.
That's a little pride,
Like, how
man.
many more
Yeah.
games are we? I mean, we're going to really play. We're gone for a week.
Spring
and-
break,
right?
I may want to go to Fort
Yep.
Lauderdale or whatever kids do these days. What do they do these days?
You're
Any idea?
asking me like I know. Come on.
Well, you got a youngin', man.
Yeah, believe me, he's not that old yet, thankfully. But the one thing, and we talked about it on our best of the weekend, and it's a late entrant, that NDSU announced they're giving away 500 free tickets to students here, which I applaud that. I just wonder, why wasn't this done on Friday when they knew they were going to be home?
Yeah, I
wonder.
What I would have done, again, we are amateur marketing geniuses.
I'm beyond that.
No,
after
you are
last year,
confirmed.
After last
you
year,
and
I am
Mike
a
are
I'm a
confirmed. You are
marketing
right.
genius.
I'm sorry.
That.
I apologize. Your greatness.
But you know what I mean? Like, you knew you were going to be home. Let's get some, the momentum.
I would have
going
done
on
it 2
this.
for 1.
Or that, right? Because
but I don't pay the bills.
Correct. Neither do I. But I wrote about this at Inforum this morning. The crowd sizes have been pretty good, honestly, and
really engaged.
Yeah, that was my point. They've been a factor, Jeff, in each of the wins.
I thought Washington State in that last minute had no idea what to do.
Yeah.
They lost all possible thought and comprehension on the game of basketball. They had no idea what they're doing on offense. Their coach was screaming and you couldn't hear.
Yeah.
And so the player, it was just in anarchy. Those 1,200 fans,
it was chaos.
Turned a former Power 4 opponent 1 year removed into chaos and anarchy. They had no idea what they were doing.
Yeah, and that game could have gone, we've seen it, because Washington State got up 6. Thinking, all right, this is, here's the needle point of the game. And boy, and NDSU scored 17 straight points.
And same in New Mexico State. At the end of the game, they were out of timeouts, which was a coaching full power mistake. You got to save one, especially in the women's game, because you can advance the ball.
Correct.
And so what did they have, 6 seconds, 7 seconds?
I think it was 8, I think.
8?
They had a little bit of time.
So if you could have called timeout, then you could have, inbounds the ball on your side of the court and run something. But they had to inbounds the ball, and they're down 3.
Yep.
Okay, my first thought was NDSU, do you follow them? Tim Miles and I have had this conversation for 17 years.
Yep.
Do you follow them or not? And I always say yes. Don't give them the chance. Kids are too good at the 3. But New Mexico State had no idea what they were doing because the crowd was going nuts.
Yep.
And the girl goes in, and the player goes in for a layup.
Yeah.
And she misses it.
And
they still lose by 3.
When they still needed 3 to begin with. So
the crowd, to me, just...
Larger point on that, right. They have been a factor, and I'm interested. I mean, it's beautiful out. Granted, we got snow bearing down on us later this week, but they can be a factor. I'm really interested to see how many people come out, because I was skeptical of what the number was going to be. It was a better crowd last Monday. Thursday was better.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the team is winning. I think there's some buzz around them that there might be a half-decent crowd tonight.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah.
There's nothing better than covering games and doing, I know it's not the NBA or not the WBIT, which is the NCAA
and it's
sponsor.
not the NCAA tournament either.
But it's still pretty cool.
Yep.
And it's still something for next year you can build on.
Well, that's the thing I was going to ask you about, because has this changed the trajectory of where you think Bison women's basketball has been by what they've done over the last 2 weeks?
It's hard to say. I think they need to get 1 or 2 impact transfers in for next year.
Okay.
I think that's going to be a priority if you can get the right 1 or 2.
They're definitely out there entertaining that.
Yes, they are.
We both can confirm that. No matter if it happens, we'll find out probably fairly soon or not. Because you look at, postseason can go a little bit away, though. You saw it last year. They were able to beat that Montana game. They should have beat Minnesota. They had a little bit of momentum heading into this year. Now you've done this, and frankly, Jeff, now there's 7 teams left. They can win this thing.
Oh,
I really believe that.
Yeah, they're not playing at Minnesota,
right?
Like they did last year, and they're not. Is there any Power 4s left? No.
Washington State was
the last
it.
considered. Yeah.
So yesterday, Buffalo beat Rutgers. They were it.
That's it.
So Rutgers came into this tournament with 11 wins.
Yes.
Right. So you can lament what the tournament is, but that's it for the teams that are left. Illinois State, Louisiana Tech are left on the Bison side of the bracket. Old friend Fort Wayne is still hanging around, and Cleveland State, I believe, is the other teams left in this tournament.
South Dakota State won this 3-4 years ago.
Just a couple years ago, and South Dakota won it before that. There's the teams. You see the bracket up. That's who's left in this event. Buffalo won yesterday, so we're down to 7. And my larger point on this, with the NCAA tournament going on, total amount of teams, because the WBIT has its semifinals today. There are only, I believe, 16 women's basketball teams still playing. NDSU's one of them. That's a big deal.
It is.
That's a big deal.
And the fans have shown up, and they think it's a big deal, too, and that's what counts.
For a program that was off the radar. I mean, you can't be more off the radar than what Bison women's basketball was for a decade. To have this now, we'll see. You mentioned it. I think you're right on the impact of, can they add some other pieces to this roster? And can they keep the biggest piece? Avery Kunin's the biggest one out there because I get asked that every day.
I think they are. What my indications are that she's coming back.
Yep. Again. Always
Season's still going.
Throw in the 3-word caveat. As of now.
Yep.
We could change the name of the show to
as of 10,
now.
12
As of
a.m.
now, you could change that too. But I'll be interested to see what happens tonight. Now, they have played before. I know you stayed up for it.
Right.
Because it was about midnight, right before Thanksgiving. The Bison played Troy out in Alaska. And NDSU actually outscored Troy for 3 of the 4 quarters. It was the third quarter that outdid them. Troy outscored the Bison 30-9 in the third quarter of that game. It was an 86-69 Troy win. But Jory Collins mentioned it to me when I asked him in the postgame press conference last Thursday. He said, we would love, I said to the team, we would love another crack at this team a couple months down the road. Lo and behold, Jeff, here we go. They got another crack at Troy.
And that's good. I mean, NDSU has everything in its corner.
Yep.
For motivation-wise. I know the revenge factor maybe gets overplayed, but I don't think so. If I'm an athlete, I'm like, hey, let's go.
And I think, they've had those quarters this year. They did to start the Kansas City game at the Summit League tournament. They had it against South Dakota State when they played here. They had it, obviously, in this game, but this is a different basketball. I mean, this game was played November the 23rd. That is such a long time ago. Today's March 31st. So, I mean, that's literally 5 months ago that this game happened. It's night and day. This team, though, can get out and run. You'll see Troy's got some quick guards, and they can shoot. That
play right there is what they have to prevent because I think was it Abby? Yeah, she's got to know that she's a half step late there. You cannot be a half step late on defense against this team.
Now, this Troy team last year made it to the Final Four of this tournament. They lost to Minnesota at home. The biggest difference is they're on the road. And the Bison we've said everything about the crowd. They've made playing in Fargo, they're 37-4 here over the last 3 years. And 3 of those losses, obviously, to the Jacks.
Yep.
The other one was to Drake to start this season.
Yep. And it's, that's a start for a good program when you're really good at home.
Yep.
And that's what Jory has created now, that they're really good at home. This would be a huge deal if they continue that home winning streak.
I agree with you. If they're able to get this one tonight, then look out. You got take your chat. Go ahead, take a shot. You got two games left after that, and who knows? You might get another one at home. We don't know.
And if they win tonight and they have a home game, what would you recommend as a marketing specialist?
Free.
I
would. Yeah. Absolutely. Get the place packed. Why not? I mean, I'm not paying the bills. I don't pay the light bill up at the Shack, but I would do whatever you can to get people into the building. You were there last year. That game with Montana
fantastic.
Was electric, man. It was really, really exciting.
Yeah,
when you take people there.
When you take the season ticket holders away from the equation because they show up half the time, maybe,
correct,
and you replace those with people in the seats who are right there on the action.
Yep.
That arena gets loud.
Yes.
I mean, that does.
It doesn't take much.
No.
Right.
I can't imagine 4,000 in there with that type of engagement.
And Mike wrote
we saw that at UND.
Yeah, Mike wrote about that on Friday, that they weren't the biggest crowd, but they were loud. They were. I would agree with him. It was probably the most energetic crowd that we had
this year.
All year.
Yeah, probably.
No doubt about it. Let's break. We come back. We'll chat some football. Kolpack was up at Bison Pro Day. We're also at the first availability for Bison Spring Football. We'll talk to Jeff about that and much more when Hot Mike returns on this Monday morning. We're back right after this. Welcome back, everybody. Got a few emails pouring in for Kolpack.
Pouring in
for you. The noted baseball former player that you are, your thoughts on the torpedo bats. Did you see that?
Yeah.
What do you make of that with the Yankees?
Very interesting. Very
it's fairly legal.
Everybody's going to go to them now.
First off, how did nobody figure this out beforehand?
I wish I needed a torpedo bat when I was in college, looking at my stats.
Boy, the Yankees just launched on.
Do you know my stats are still online?
Of course they are. You're a former player. Why wouldn't they be?
That's embarrassing.
Be erased from the
I'm trying to get them erased. Yes.
Let's do another one here. Oh, this one comes to you as well. I had asked this as well on the NCAA tournament. Were you bored out of your mind this year? With
I've
the
been
NCAAs?
bored for 2. Yeah, you know what? That's an interesting point. just haven't been engaged in it. And I think it has to do, again, with that story I did on all the mid-major good players are now playing at Power Fours after one good season. And they're bye-bye Cinderella, and it was an easy column to write. It wasn't anything Nostradamus-like because it was obvious.
Yeah.
But that's how things have shaken out. Now it's like weird as, is Memphis now a Cinderella? I mean, come on. No.
I would look at it because there's potential. The women will wrap up their Elite Eight tonight, and each of the 1 seeds could very well, Texas is a 1 there, and USC is a 1, that you could have all the number 1 seeds at the Final Four on the men's and the women's side.
Even way more of a discrepancy in talent at the women's
There's
level.
no doubt about that.
Look at what Connecticut did to a really good team against South Dakota State.
Yep.
It wasn't even close.
Nope.
And so, to
Look
me,
what they did in the last round. Connecticut was hammered there.
How many 81-31 games do we see in the women's tournament this year?
Too many.
Yep.
But I think right now you look at the top level of talent, especially on the women's side, is definitely
which again,
it's not spread out like it is on the men's side.
Dom, we need some sort of salary cap on the collective because it's just going to be Boresville every year.
So how's this? Jeff Goodman just tweeted this out. Let's implement a transfer free when high majors poach these low and mid majors for, I'm assuming it's transfer fee for a player. That way it'll help make those programs still have a chance to be competitive. They'll get 50,000 or so when they lose a player to a high major. That is something, yeah.
Well, Division I wrestling is the same way. There's like 10 programs that control the whole shebang.
So UND just
and it
lost.
hurts the sport.
So under that, Trace and Eaglestaff just left UND to go to South Carolina.
Probably more than $1 million.
So under that, UND would get $50,000 to make up for it. That's like getting a compensatory pick in the NFL when you lose a free agent, I guess.
Something's got to happen, Dom. And I just, if what is March Madness by definition? What is the madness part of it?
It's the Cinderellas that advance
100%,
12 seed winning 100%. Or something like that. Mm-hmm.
It's not March. It's March mundaneness now. It's just it's no more madness. I mean, and they have taken their very logo at center court and just essentially just wiped it off.
They have. But the games, I would say, like the games this weekend were excellent because you had the best teams playing. I fully expect the games next Saturday at the Final Four will be great.
4 number 1 seeds getting through.
I get it, but the basketball may be better, is I guess the devil's advocate would suggest to you that, okay, St. Peter's making it to the Elite Eight, awesome, but when they got there, the Elite Eight game was a boat race. It's not that much fun to that,
I don't care about that. I don't. I care about drama. I care about...
I'm just saying the level of basketball might be, when people are watching the most, which is the Final Four, you may have the best teams.
Do you think my wife cares about the level of basketball?
I'm sure Ruby does. I'm sure Ruby does.
Between Duke and Florida, or do you think she cares? No, it's the Murray States of the world who break through once in a while.
All right, I've just pointed out there because I think more people will watch. Say, "Oh, Duke's going to play. Are they playing Houston? That's going to be a dynamite game. Best players going to be out there. Florida's going to play Auburn. That's going to be a pretty darn good game."
I think it's going to lead to eventually a little downfall in the ratings.
Well, that's the question. We'll see about that.
We'll see.
Absolutely. A couple things here before we got to roll. Your guy, Coach Prime, got paid.
$10 million.
See that? Whew. $54 million extension, $10 million a year for Dion. Here's the real proof in the pudding. Can he coach without his sons there? I think he can, but we'll wait and see what happens.
He's already done
year.
way better with that program than anybody, I think, imagined.
Yes, at Colorado.
You almost forget now how bad they were.
Colorado won one football game the year before Dion got there. They were maybe the worst team in FBS.
And he's done it with a model of coaching that really was not done before. In the fact, he doesn't go out recruiting.
Nope.
He's a CEO type of guy.
They got Marshall Falk. I think they have now 3 Hall of Famers on the staff because Sapp's there. Falk is now on the staff. There's one other guy I'm trying to remember who's on the Colorado staff that
I still think the Cowboys should have hired him for whatever they wanted.
Well, they want Brian Schottenheimer there. Apparently.
Oh boy, there's an exciting hire. Woo, man! Brian Schottenheimer? No way.
Speaking of the NFL, you were at Pro Day on Thursday. Give me some takeaways. Anybody stand out to you that had a good day on Thursday?
Nick Kubitz looked good running. He had a 41-inch vertical, and that guy's
very well.
Wow, that guy's an athlete. I thought, those movements that Zabel did. I'm not an offensive line mind, so Mason Miller I thought looked pretty good for his size. Eli Mostert did a couple. He had a good cone run.
He had the
sub 5'4",
60-yard shuttle. He did pretty
sub
well.
5'4",
Yep.
40 at 296 pounds.
Yeah, everybody was oohing and awing. I could hear when the verticals were going on, and I had to text because Sam was over there. Like, what's that about? It was Kubitz. Kubitz did 41 inches on his vertical. And Polisek told me literally that morning when I asked him who's going to test well, he said, don't be surprised, it's Nick Kubitz.
And I want to say save the best for like Cam Miller, I thought was just in command. Just looked the part, acted the part, threw the part, strong arm. Not one ball hit the ground.
No. He had a dynamite day. And
now, is that enough to get drafted? I hope so.
So I know he's meeting with the Broncos and the Jets. And I will tell you this from my draft knowledge. If you're going on individual meetings, you're getting picked. I'm telling you right now. I don't know when, but you're going to get picked sometime Saturday on day 3. I think maybe. And by the way, the guy he was throwing to, every time we talked with Bryce Lance, he's a Bryce Lance highlight, that I looked down every time the scouts were looking like they were writing down when Lance caught one on that. So we'll be talking about him this time next year. But to Cam's point, I think if you have that kind of interest, you're going to get somebody's going to take a chance on him. And did you have a chance to visit with his QB coach?
No.
So Tony, we had on the show on Friday. He's fantastic. They kept telling him that he wasn't supposed to have this good a day. He was going to be our little secret. We were going to go draft him.
That's been his life's MO, though. I mean, he overlooked out of college. Gets here. Quincy Patterson starts in front of him. Then he takes over. Then Mark Gronowski becomes the guy. So there's a couple years where he was always number 2. And then he comes back and he beats that. He beats the Jacks twice this year. Then goes to the Shrine Bowl. Plays well there. Wasn't expected to. Doesn't get a combine invite. Overlooked again. Comes out and blows them away. I thought in this. I mean, he just continues to whenever you overlook him, he beats it. He beats it.
And that's
2 national titles.
I think it's his 5th, 6th, 7th round. If you want to say I have Bison Homer, I've got because that'd be the first time that's been said with green and gold colored glasses on. I think he's going to get.
And I wrote
sometime.
that. When are we done? And I mean we.
Yeah.
Because I don't think we underestimate. When is the game of football done overlooking Cam Miller?
I think sometime in April 26th. That's the last day of the draft.
You predicted.
I think that'll be the last time that. Well, maybe not, because maybe we'll see if he makes a roster and all that. Because I'm sure that'll be his size, his arm strength, all that against him. But I think he's proven the doubters wrong on that.
So before we go, I got to challenge my friend Paul with that Twins thing there. Can he do a cutout or a carving of you?
Nobody wants that. I can tell you that right now. I thought you were going to ask for you on that because we already have the nickel. We got that.
I got the golf towel.
You got that. There's no doubt. You were up at spring practice, as was I, before we go on Friday. Give me a couple guys that you're keeping your eyes on that maybe we don't know yet.
Well, the quarterbacks look good to me. I mean, as far as I could tell. But physically, they look incredible. I mean, Cole Payton's a specimen. Nathan Hayes looks and acts apart, throws the part. I think he, if Cole has a hiccup.
It's going to be fun to watch. I'm going to tell you that right now.
And Xander Smith is a big dude, man. he's a high school senior still.
He should be
looks like
wrapping
he's
up his senior high
looks
school.
like he's 22. I don't know if it means he's going to be good, but
right. I would go on the offensive line because I spent some time there. Bo Johnson certainly looks the part as well. For people that haven't paid attention to Bo, he was getting reps at left tackle. Josh Mangan was getting reps at right tackle. Nate Tosted was getting reps at right tackle as well, redshirt freshman. That, as this goes on the spring until we get to the end of April, be real interesting to see what those 5 are.
This team looks good. Physically, you look at them, and it's hard to compare year to year. It seems a lot better this time last year, just gut feeling. But, Donovan Wool at linebacker, how do you keep him out? He's 6'4", now.
You can't.
The defensive backs are much more experienced than they were last year.
Yeah, there's guys on the back end there that have played that this time we had no idea who's going to be. We're not knowing what Wisniewski's status was. We had no idea who's going to play corner.
Tight end, not sure. We'll see.
That's
got to be.
That's a good spring storyline. Who's going to step up at tight end to be a potential downfield threat for whoever is quarterback and throw the ball
a couple
to.
of the young defensive ends, like Abe Myers, he looks the part again. I don't know if he's any good, but you look at guys and go, oh,
yep. McCaslin is getting. If
He looks
Kelton,
bigger
if
to me.
Kelton can stay on the field, he has that. You were talking about who's going to be the next. He's got the physical prototype to be a devastator at defensive end. I really believe that.
Looks a little heavier to me, I think, and not mean heavy, but stronger.
Yeah. I think the interior of the Bison defensive line is as good as it's been in a long time because you've got Dutenheffer back. Heisman was sensational last year, and Keenan Wilson is going to be an all-conference player this year. I'm going to say it right now.
How's it looking for Citadel right now?
Ticket sales is looking pretty good. That's all they're worried about right now. I don't know about
that's good.
on-field product.
I can't wait for that trip because I'm looking forward to the.
Are you going to leave like a month early
to the
get down there?
Just to the military school?
Yeah,
I've never been to a military
same
school.
Here. That's true. I've been to the Army. I've been to West
I've never
Point.
been to a military school. I'm just so looking
different.
forward to that and Charleston and just the whole environment there.
It'd be cool. A really interesting way to start the 2025 season. Thanks for coming by, as always. Thanks for having Paul come by as well. This is awesome. We're going to add this to the studio. Jeff Kolpack joins us each and every Monday. He'll be at the game tonight. Bison women taking on Troy in the WNIT. We'll break. We come back. Moreheads Tay Rich will join us after he got offered by the Gophers this weekend. He's coming up when Hot Mike returns right after this.